Good evening, everyone. We will call the Monday, December 16, 2013 City Council meeting to order. First order of business is the roll call.
Estes. Peterson. Lewis. Doyle. Wright. Scott. Nordstrom. Roberts. Clayton. Lorente. We have quorum.
We will now welcome Pastor Larry Salway to do our invocation. You're welcome to participate, but not required.
Let's pray together. Father in heaven, it's always good to be in your presence again. Thank you as we stand here with these men and women that we've selected and chosen to represent different entities of the city. Thank you that we can discuss things. Thank you for the debate. Sometimes it can be very heated because we're passionate about what we believe in. We thank you for that. I pray your blessing tonight. Give these men and women as our leaders of the city the wisdom that's needed, the strength that is needed, and the ability to separate facts from fiction and be able to pursue things in the best interest of the people and of our fair city. I thank you again for each one who is so unique in their giftings and in their leadership. Each one has been selected and chosen by us, and we just count it a great privilege to ask your blessing on the proceedings of this evening and on the families of each one. We ask it all in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Salway. We're now on to our adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to tonight's agenda from staff or council members? Motion by Lewis, second by Nordstrom to approve the agenda as is. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have our Veterans of the Month here tonight? Okay. If Kristen Nielsen and Herschel Smith could come up front along with our Ward 2 council members. In partnership with the Veterans Coordination Commission, we are very pleased to present the 2013 Veteran of the Month recognitions to Airman First Class Kirsten Nielsen and Staff Sergeant Herschel Smith. Steve.
Airman First Class Kirsten Nielsen is originally from San Diego, California, and is a mission intelligence coordinator stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, and is assigned to the 432nd Attack Squadron, which is one of the Air Force's newest remotely piloted aircraft squadrons. Airman First Class Nielsen entered the Air Force on July 26, 2011, attended an 8.5-week basic military training course at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, and a 5.5-month operations intelligence apprentice course at Goodfellow Air Force Base in Texas. Staff Sergeant Herschel Smith is originally from Fort Worth, Texas, and is a mission intelligence coordinator stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. He is also assigned to the 432nd Attack Squadron. Staff Sergeant Smith entered the Air Force on May 29, 2007, attended an 8.5-week basic military training course at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, and a 5.5-month operations intelligence apprentice course at Goodfellow Air Force Base in Texas.
On January 20th, 2013, A1C Nielsen called Staff Sergeant Smith asking for help after she became aware of a friend from training was indicating that she was contemplating hurting herself. Staff Sergeant Smith spoke with distressed airmen stationed in Maryland and verified the threat to her well-being. He then coordinated with the distressed airmen to seek immediate help from a neighbor. Once her immediate safety was secured, Staff Sergeant Smith contacted Master Sergeant William Joyce, who immediately coordinated with local command and control entities as well as the distressed airmen's first sergeant in Maryland. Based on the feedback given from the first sergeant, there is strong indication that the engagement by A1C Nielsen and Staff Sergeant Smith was the reason the United States Air Force did not lose a member of its family that day. Not only do these two serve their country with pride, honor, and dignity, but Airman First Class Kristen Nielsen and Staff Sergeant Herschel Smith went above and beyond, and their actions reflect the wingman ethos all airmen strive to attain and live by. Integrity first, service before self, and excellent in all you do. They are most deserving of Veteran of the Month. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your service. If our police chief, Steve Allender, and Loyanne Kistler from the police department could please come up. You're usually walking with some chalk. Where is it?
Well, tonight we're going to recognize Loyanne Kistler for 30 years of service with the city. In 1983, same year I was born, Loyanne started with our department as a records clerk, where she did data input with a typewriter and recipe cards and file cabinets and that sort of thing. And she stayed there until about 1995, then she became a traffic clerk. And she worked there until 1999 when she decided for some reason to leave her daytime job indoors and go out into parking enforcement where, where there's lots of friendly customers and people always happy to see her. So she did that. She's been doing that for 14 years. And she always has that on her face when she's doing it, too. She's always happy. She always has a positive attitude. And some days when I just feel crummy, I go down to the parking enforcement office and hang around for a few minutes, and I feel better. But this is all not fun and games for Leanne. I think she's had a couple of foot surgeries, and there's a lot of downsides to walking 10 miles a day. And marking tires and checking meters and that sort of thing. And just so you know, she's very friendly. Will be the friendliest ticket she ever got. And she doesn't make the parking rules. Somebody else makes the parking rules, and she just enforces them. So we're very proud to have her in the department, and hope this is, it's 30 years, but we hope to be back here at 35 or maybe more years, because she's just a joy to have around. So thank you, Leanne.
We have a Community Connection Award to Rapid Transit System. Presenting this on behalf of Black Hills Black Hills Works. I'm going to get into the new name. The Vice President of Development, Helen Usera, and also if Nancy, Liz, Cindy, Mark could come up, and Bob, you're welcome to come up as well. And if Rich Sagan from Rapid Transit could come up as well. And before I hand the microphone over to Helen, I just wanted to say a few words about this award. I had the privilege of accepting this award at the recent Black Hills Works Gala over at the Civic Center on behalf of Rapid Transit, and we felt that it was appropriate to represent the award tonight. And it's an exciting award, and we as a city are honored to receive it. We very much appreciate the leadership of our Public Works Director, Terry Waltersdorf. Terry, you're welcome to come up as well. No? Okay. And especially Rich Sagan, our Rapid Transit Manager. Helen.
Thank you. Good evening. Each year at the annual gala, Black Hills Works Foundation recognizes 2 companies in the community who provide support, service, and total encouragement to the people who are served by Black Hills Works. This year, Rapid Transit was recognized. There are a few comments that I would like to share with you. Bob Truman actually shared with us several stories during the gala about the things that Rapid Transit staff do to go above and beyond for the people who work with us. One of the comments that rang true, Rapid Transit has taken upon themselves to actually know the people that they're providing rides for throughout the community, right down to where they know all their friends, they know their names on first name basis. Tonight, I picked up Liz and Cindy, and they proceeded to explain to me who their bus drivers are. They told me who picks them up on what route, and they talked about how they know how to manipulate, get what they need from the drivers. I want to really thank Rapid Transit for everything that we've done, or that you have done. More than 100 people use the Rapid Transit from Black Hills Works. We want to especially thank Cindy, your right-hand person, who has great communication skills and always keeps us informed of any impending issues or issues that we need to be aware of. So thank you, Mr. Sagan, and thank you, Mayor Quaker. Cindy? Liz? Good to Rich. On behalf of the Black Hills Works Foundation, we present Mr. Sagan and the Rapid Transit team with a plaque that reads, Black Hills Works Foundation presents the 2013 Community Connection Award to Rapid Transit System. Thank you.
Just wanted to say a few words here. I'm pleased to accept this award on behalf of the Rapid Transit System, and this would not be possible without the support of the Mayor and City Council, Public Works Department, and also the hard work and dedication of our employees. Thank you very much.
Now is the time for general public comment. I do not have any general public comment items. Have I missed anyone? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 4, which is a presentation from Ben Snow with Rapid City Economic Development Partnership on the foreign trade zone and customs and border protection.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packets linked to the agenda tonight, each of you should have received a copy of this report. And in the interest of time, I think I will provide a Reader's Digest version of the Reader's Digest version of the report. It's about 16 pages, but I wish to just highlight a few of the things that we learned in this exercise and some of the recommendations that we have. So we know that Rapid City is a wonderful place to live and a wonderful place to operate businesses. And there are lots of hallmarks to this being a great place. I can list all of our positive attributes and all of the reasons why this is a great place for companies to do business. But suffice to say that we have a lot of great tools and a lot of inherently good strengths for this area and this part of the world for doing business. But despite many of the positives our area has to offer, we're always looking for ways we can compete even better than we do today. Attempt to further diversify our economic base and develop more tools to make our community more attractive than it already is. One of the possible tools that emerged during one of the mayor's economic task force meetings this past year was the feasibility of obtaining a foreign trade zone in the Black Hills. For anyone who wants to know what a foreign trade zone is, I will ask you to read the definition of a foreign trade zone that's contained herein in this packet. But because Rapid City does not have an FTZ, as we call it, we began an effort to determine if our region's businesses could benefit by us having one. and also determine if we could attract new business to town by having one. This effort was initially spearheaded by the late Dr. John Quinn when he was running the Center for Business and Economics. But after he passed away in January, it was taken over by a subset of the members of the Mayor's Economic Task Force, of which I'm honored to be one of. We've been performing due diligence this past year. All of the costs associated with this feasibility study, which were fairly modest, were paid for by the Economic Development Partnership. It was mostly a volunteer effort by interested stakeholders who either serve on the Economic Development Partnership Board or the task force, in a couple of instances, both. Some of the folks are present with me here tonight. Les and Jim, if you want to stand and be recognized for your service this past year. The names of the other individuals are on the first page of the report. In order to have a functioning foreign trade zone, it is also necessary to use the services of a Customs and Border Protection officer. The minimum cost of having a CBP officer in residence is about $150,000 per year. There are additional costs of administration for an FTZ operator, segregating FTZ goods from non-FTZ goods, and the additional strict record-keeping requirements of having goods in an FTZ. These additional costs could quite easily add another $25,000 to the cost of having the Customs and Border Protection officer and bring the bare bones expense of operating an FTZ to $175,000 per year. So during the fall of 2012, it was determined that the first step in our due diligence process should be to focus on the FTZ to see if there could be some revenue generated sufficient to help support the costs of a Customs and Border Protection agent who would be assigned to the Black Hills area. And the following actions were taken during this work this past year. We contacted Rock Nelson, he's the director of South Dakota's International Trade Center in Sioux Falls, to determine what Sioux Falls has done with their FTZ and their airport customs clearance facilities. We visited the Sioux Falls FTZ and airport customs clearance facilities. We surveyed top management of companies here in the Black Hills area that are currently importing products from outside the U.S., determined their level of import duties being paid and whether operational savings would accrue through use of a foreign trade zone. We also surveyed cities of similar size within about a 400-mile radius from Rapid City to determine if they have an FTZ, what the volume of transactions are coming in and out of their FTZs, and whether it is a self-supporting entity. And also, if those entities or those cities did not have an FTZ, we wanted to understand why. Why not? The cities that we surveyed include Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Casper, Wyoming, Bozeman, Montana, Billings, Montana, and 3 cities in North Dakota, Williston, Dickinson, and Bismarck. Fast forward to the end, which is our conclusions. After doing all of this work and all of this outreach, we learned some really valuable things. But after completing all of these activities, the committee has determined that while an FTZ could be useful for attracting more manufacturing businesses to the Black Hills region, it is not justified at this time. There are, however, some advantages of seeking a Customs and Border Protection agent in our region. Many local companies with aircraft at Rapid City Regional Airport would benefit from having local customs clearance services. Combining this demand with our regional tourism industry, we feel like is a logical next place to continue looking. And this logical avenue to pursue help from the tourism industry may help justify the costs associated with securing Customs and Border Protection agent here. This agent would be tasked with clearing both local residents returning from outside of the U.S. and provide customs clearance for foreign nationals arriving in the Black Hills for business, as well as tourism, and take advantage of the unique recreational activities in our area, including Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills National Forest, Custer State Park, and numerous other tourist-related attractions, including the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, which, as a little side note, the Customs Office in Casper clears quite a few of the rally goers every year. So there's some demand that we potentially could capture from that built-in market. So in summary, we recommend that we cease any efforts at the present time regarding obtaining FTZ status at Rapid City Airport, and instead concentrate on determining if economic justification can be made for obtaining Customs and Border Protection Officer for passenger clearances at Rapid City Regional Airport. To that end, we will remain engaged in performing the due diligence to determine the feasibility of getting this agent assigned to Rapid City Airport, and for local residents returning from outside the U.S., this could be a big boon for us. Due to the CBP regulations, the largest number of passengers one agent can clear at a time is 20. While this limits the number of aircraft that can be cleared, it presents the opportunity to save money and infrastructure costs by having the CBP customs clearance located in the facilities of one of our privately owned fixed-base operators. It just so happens that one of these operators is in the process of potentially doing an expansion of their own terminal in the general aviation portion of our airport. So we're recommending that we work with other municipalities and stakeholders within the Black Hills tourism industry to determine their needs and obtain their buy-in to support an officer at Rapid City Regional Airport. They would be asked to provide funds to cover a portion of the startup costs and ongoing operating costs for a certain period of time, probably not more than 4 to 5 years. So as we continue both to work with our largest FBO, airport management, and the customs office located in Chicago, which has jurisdiction over our area, we will be determining what options are available to the City of Rapid City for passenger clearance services. This concludes our interim report. A final report with final recommendations is anticipated around the middle of next year. So myself and Les and Jim are available for any questions or comments from the council. Thank you.
We have a motion by Lewis and a second by Peterson to acknowledge the report. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for your work on this, and also to Jeff Karsrud, local businessman who is also heavily involved in this effort of due diligence on this project. So thank you very much to all of you.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of acknowledgement, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ben. We are now on items 5 through 40. Public comment is now open for items 5 through 40. I do not have any speaker request forms for items 5 through 40. Have I missed anyone? Seeing none, public comment is now closed for items 5 through 40. I'll ask council members if there are any items that you'd like to pull for separate consideration. We'll first go to Chad Lewis. Chad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 26, please.
Item 26. Any other items? Any other items? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve items 5 through 40 with the exception of 26? We have a motion by Estes and a second by Clayton. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We are on item number 26. And Chad, if you could read this into the record for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 26 is approved the 2014 property liability and excess worker compensation renewals, and I move approval.
Motion by Lewis, second by Roberts.
And my reason for pulling this is just simply to acknowledge the fact that, once again, I may not have heard of Legal and Finance, but the premiums that are paid out by the city, about 40% of them are returned back to the city in the form of donations to nonprofits, and that's done by the agencies that are involved in this process. And I just want to acknowledge them for their due diligence and for their ability to give back and not make a complete profit off it, and just give back to the community that way. I think it's very important. We acknowledge that they've given up over in excess of $750,000 or more in the last 10 years back in the community with that money that's being spent on the insurance premiums here. So I think it's important that you recognize that, and we acknowledge that as a council. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Any further discussion on that item? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We are now on items 41 through 53. Public comment is now open. We do have several speaker request forms. And we'll first go to Hanny. Would you like to go first? Okay. We'll go to Hanny Shaffey on item 51.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Hanny Shaffey with Dream Design, representing the President's Plaza LLC, which is associated with the President's Plaza project, downtown Rapid City. And there is an agreement before you to set up some guidelines for completion dates and activities for the project, and I'm here to answer any questions. And with me tonight are two of our representatives. One is Mr. Carpenter, who will address any questions relating to the legal issues associated with the agreements before you. And then our new market tax credit expert or consultant from Denver, Monica Peterson. She will follow Mr. Carpenter with for additional information relating to the new market tax credit associated with the project. I'll be available for any questions after they do their presentation, and I'll be more than happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaffey. We'll now go to Ed Carpenter, representing President's Plaza.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Ed Carpenter. I practice law at Costello Porter Law Firm. I'm here on behalf of President's Plaza. I'm here to offer some comments that hopefully will help get this matter on the right track and help the council in reaching a resolution on the matter pending. First, I think it's important to point out that the proposed amendment does not represent a request by President's Plaza for an extension of time. President's Plaza already has binding contracts with the City of Rapid City and is under no obligation to enter into the proposed addendum at all. What the proposed addendum does represent is President Plaza's good faith attempt to respond to a request by the mayor for definite timeframes by which certain steps will be completed, or the City Council can cancel the Master Development Agreement and the TIF agreement. This reaches far beyond the ordinance being relied on, which only deals with 2012 funds. And it's a good example of the good faith of President's Plaza in being here. They were requested by the mayor to try to get some dates. We met with the mayor, came up with some dates. The city attorney put together a proposed agreement, which is the agreement before you. And that agreement doesn't just address 2012 funds as the ordinance which is being relied on as requiring an extension. It reaches far beyond that. It says the TIF funds, the Master Development Agreement, the transfer of the city property can be canceled. Now, the existing Master Development Agreement executed by the city in 2009 provides, and I'm quoting from just parts of it, in Section 4B, it says, without any question, the sum of $2,800,000 in city 2012 funds shall be dedicated to the design and construction costs of the public improvements in this project, period. Section 8C says, this agreement may be amended or modified only in writing, signed by the party to be bound by such amendment or modification, and stating that it is intended as an amendment or modification to this agreement. There is no such amendment. Your own city ordinance 1.04070 states nothing in this code shall be construed as to impair any vested rights or valid obligations existing when it takes effect. South Dakota's Constitution says no law impairing the obligation of contract shall be passed. The ordinance in question was passed April 2012, 3 years after the development agreement was signed. Aside from legal interpretations or questions, what does your common sense tell you as a body? You don't unilaterally change the terms of the contract 3 years after it's entered into. And law aside, I'm confident that it is not the way you conduct your own personal business, and it's not the way you want the city of Rapid City to conduct its business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. We'll now go to Monica Peterson with SB Clark Companies.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Monica Clark Peterson, and I'm here representing SB Clark Companies. We're a financial advisory firm out of Denver, Colorado, and we focus on new markets tax credits, low-income housing tax credits, and tax-exempt bonds. I'm here to talk about kind of 4 main points, and then we'll be happy to answer questions if there are any others regarding new markets tax credits. First, does President's Plaza qualify for new markets tax credits? Yes, in fact, it does. In the New Markets Tax Credit Program, there are census tracts defined specifically by the New Markets Tax Credit Program, and President's Plaza is within a qualifying census tract. As you may know, projects that are considered highly distressed get more attention in the New Markets Tax Credit project. To be highly distressed, you have to qualify for one of 3 areas. The President's Plaza location falls into 2 areas of highly distressed based on poverty rate and unemployment in that census tract. Second, what is the process and how long does it take to close a new markets tax credit transaction? Well, in fact, it can take quite a while, usually in our experience, 90 to 120 days. That is after getting the allocation, the new markets tax credit allocation agreements signed and those term sheets started. That's the due diligence process. That can take well into a full year. For example, with the most recent round of new markets tax credits, we just closed a deal last week and then another one the week before that. So new markets tax credits can take into the calendar year end to close. Third, do projects like President's Plaza actually get funded by new markets tax credits? It is true that the new markets tax credit program was created to create jobs and to create community redevelopment. While different community development entities choose different priorities to focus on, we closed a mixed-use redevelopment that was for-profit with retail, student housing, and parking in Louisville, Kentucky, and nearly $40 million of new markets tax credit allocation. In the most recent report on how the 2012 allocation for new markets tax credit was used, we found that 11 projects were mixed-use redevelopment and 6 were hotels. President's Plaza does have an ability to qualify for new market tax credit allocation, and we see projects like this one get funded. Finally, is President's Plaza competitive to other projects here in Rapid City? And I would say that our goal is to see new markets tax credits benefit the city of Rapid City. As you may know, there are other projects like the Community Health Center of the Black Hills that are interested in considering new markets tax credits as a financing tool. We at SB Clark Companies were approached by the Community Health Center of the Black Hills, and immediately, because we believe in transparency and try to work with business partners that agree in transparency, also contacted the developers at President's Plaza. They gave us their consent and agreed that there was no conflict of interest, and we agreed that we could work hand in hand to bring new markets tax credits to the benefit of Rapid City in multiple projects that would benefit your city, and we hope that we get the opportunity to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do not have any further speaker request forms on these items, on items 41 through 53. Public comment is now closed. And we'll proceed with item number 41, and we'll go to Councilmember Chad Lewis. Oh, I'm sorry.
Take it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 41 is second reading of ordinance 5975, an ordinance to change the organizational makeup of the Department of Public Works by amending Chapter 2.44 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries. We'll go to Chad Lewis for item number 42.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 42 is a second reading of ordinance 5971, a supplemental appropriation number 3 for 2013. I do move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Lewis, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 43.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 43 is a second reading of ordinance 5972, an ordinance amending Chapter 2.89 of the Rapid City Municipal Code by amending Section 2.89.060 concerning membership and terms of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and adding Sections 2.89.070 and 2.89.071 22.080 concerning Rapid City Beautification Committee and Rapid City Urban Wildlife Committee. I move approval.
Motion by Lewis, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 44.
Item number 44 is the second reading of ordinance 5973, an ordinance amending provisions concerning the Rapid City Urban Forestry Board by amending sections 12.32.030 and 12.32.040 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 45 is second reading of ordinance 5969, an ordinance adopting provisions concerning Rapid City Public Libraries Board of Trustees by adding chapter 2.86 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Peterson. Before we proceed to a vote, I want to just mention we've had a library since 1914.
Remember that, Brad?
And now we have, and now it's officially official that we have a library. And I want to thank the board and our interim director, Terry Davis, for their tremendous work on this, along with Carla Cushman from the city attorney's office. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 46.
Item number 46 is the first reading of ordinance 5976, an ordinance to establish a mobile ice cream vendor license in the city of Rapid City by adding chapter 5.5 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Nordstrom, and we'll go to John Roberts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I had one of the ice cream vendors call me with a concern over just one section of this ordinance. As most people know, the ice cream vending business, there's very little profit in it. And one of the things that this ordinance is asking for is a backup alarm, which are somewhat expensive, between $500 and $700 to retrofit these trucks with the backup alarm. And after they brought this forward, I started thinking, I have an ice cream truck that goes through my neighborhood constantly in the summertime, and I don't believe I've ever seen an ice cream truck back up. I really don't. I don't think I've ever seen an ice cream truck back up. So I think that it's a little overstepping on what we're asking in this ordinance, and I'm hoping that somebody would. It is 5.50.160, Section B, Line 2, and if somebody would like to strike it, or if I can go out, I'll come back and ask to amend to have that strike. Thank you.
Stricken. Okay. We'll go to Steve Laurenti.
We'll get the tense of that word correct once if we amend it.
ask Bill.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to ask the chief a question, if I can, please.
Go ahead.
Chief Allender, I assume this is something that you brought into this. Was this something that you suggested on this particular ordinance?
I don't believe so.
It's not? Okay. To the attorney's office?
Are you talking about the ordinance itself or
No,
the backup alarm?
the requirement.
Allison Marsland from my office drafted it. I'm guessing that where she got it is from looking at ordinances in other cities. It was probably something that was in another ordinance, and she thought it was a good idea. If you don't want it, certainly could be stricken. It's really up to the council at this point.
I'm hoping somebody will make that amendment, and I'll second it. Thank you.
We'll go to Bonnie Peterson.
I'd make a motion to continue to the next Legal and Finance Committee to look into backing up purposes. The reason, if I can get a second, I will say my reasons.
Okay, we have a motion by Peterson and a second by Nordstrom to continue first reading to the next Legal and Finance meeting.
The reason I'm questioning this, I don't know if it's required of other vehicles that we also license, so it wouldn't be fair that if we require other vehicles to have this, that we exempt someone, or at least look at a bigger picture and see what issues we might be dealing with. In most cases, it seems like the music from the truck would override any backup, but at the same time, backup, I'm sure they back up because I'm sure they park in places and have to back up. So I would just like us to look at the bigger picture and see who else is being if we're exempting anyone else, and if it's maybe it's a law we have no control over, that it has to be there, so.
We'll go to Chad Lewis.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I thought maybe this item might actually be in item number 46, but is it in 47? I think we already passed item 46, so just as a, so this.
No, we're on item 46.
I'm sorry, I put a check mark next to it, I apologize. I thought we'd already passed it, so, thank you.
Okay. Brad Estes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support pushing this off to legal and finance. The only concern I might have is as my fellow councilman Chad Lewis is chasing the ice cream truck down the street. If it does happen to back up, I'd like him to have fair warning.
At least some of us are still
further-
able to.
Any further discussion? John, would you like to speak on this? No? All right. All right. Before we proceed with continuing this, I'd just like to say good catch, John. I missed that line in the ordinance. I know I had asked, we've been streamlining our ordinances and processes, and the process for getting an ice cream vending license is different than any of our other licenses. And so we were looking at adopting a process similar to what we already have for the other licenses that the police department currently approves, including the security licenses. So I would be fine with amending it tonight to remove the backup portion, or we can continue first reading in its entirety and discuss it and amend it. Then our city attorney has already given the green light, so to speak, to remove that clause, and you could just remove it tonight and then pass first reading. That way second reading isn't delayed, but it really isn't a big deal either way. So your call. We'll go to Chad Lewis.
Not to belabor this, but I mean, given the weather, I don't think we're in a big hurry to passing the ice cream trucks out right now, so I don't mind continuing it for a couple of weeks if someone needs to look at it a little closer. So,
all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 47.
Item number 47 is the first reading of ordinance 5977, an ordinance to change the process for city authorization of ice cream vending vehicles from a city streets to from a contract to a mobile ice cream vendor licensed by amending section 5.48.010 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I believe a continuation until next legal and finance would be appropriate.
Second.
We have a motion by Lewis and a second by Peterson. Just ask our city attorney a brief
Is that
question.
appropriate, given that we just continued item number above it? Thank you.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 48.
Item number 48 is the first reading of ordinance 5974, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, rezoning the within described properties requested by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers Inc. for Black Hills Habitat for Humanity from public district to medium district residential district for block 76 of the North Rapid Addition. Number 2, property generally located at 2925 Dilger Drive. I move approval in conjunction with the comprehensive plan amendments.
Motion by Lewis, second by Nordstrom, to approve in conjunction with comprehensive plan amendments. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 49, we'll go to Councilman Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 49 is authorize the mayor and finance officer to sign a resolution number 2013-074, a resolution of necessity for acquisition of public right-of-way over private property for the purpose of constructing a street and other public infrastructure through the exercise of eminent domain. And I'll move to continue to February 17th.
Motion by Nordstrom and a second by Lewis to continue to the February 17
council meeting.
City Council meeting. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Very good.
Okay.
So February 18 City Council meeting, which would be on Tuesday because of President's Day. So we'll continue the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 50.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 50 is the appeal of denial of a request for an exception from FMG Incorporated for GWH Properties LLC to allow a 10-foot pedestrian utility easement to be granted in lieu of dedicating an additional 10-foot right-of-way on the south side of Minnesota Street as required by the IDCM Figure 2.1 and allow the 8-foot wide minor drainage and utility easement to be located within the pedestrian utility easement. With further information, I acknowledge the withdrawal by the petitioners, and I so moved.
Motion by Nordstrom and a second by Chad Lewis to acknowledge the withdrawal of the petitioners. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 51, Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 51 is to authorize the mayor and finance officer to sign a fourth addendum to the master development agreement with President's Plaza LLC, and I move approval. I'd like to retain the floor, please.
Motion by Lewis, second by Roberts, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't usually speak a lot about as many subjects these days, but this is one I feel it's important that we show a little public support for this project. I know that as a developer, which compared to these gentlemen, I'm basically building Lego houses, but this is something that I think it's, being a developer is a very hard job, and it takes a lot of patience, a lot of, ability to overcome adversity. You can't be overly controlling, you can't be overly anxious. You have to sit back and deal with 1,001 things that can go wrong, and they do. And at the end of the day, I think it's, if Mr. Shaffey and Mr. Hall can't get it done, it's going to be hard for anybody to get it done. These guys are proven developers. They've done a good job with the city. Whether you agree with everything they do ever in this world, doesn't matter. They're really good at their job, and I think they've done some good job of doing it. This isn't monopoly. You don't just, land on a property and throw up a hotel. It takes a while for these things to happen. It takes a long time for it to happen sometimes. I can tell you from personal experience that things just take time, and it's hard to get all the financing, all the people on board sometimes, and I really appreciate their efforts. I think we have a deal as a city. I think it's a bad message to send to other businesses that want to do business here for us to say anything negative about this project or for us not to support it. We have the deal. We made the deal. Whether or not we like the deal at this point, well, you made the deal. This is Rapid City, South Dakota. A man's word is supposed to be his bond. A handshake's supposed to be a good deal. And I'd like to point out, if anybody would like to look back at item number 35, we just approved the extension on the powwow grounds, which, by the way, I'm 100% behind. I will support them 100%. But they've been working on it since 2005. They haven't raised any money yet. We just gave them another extension. And you know what? That's good, because sometimes these things take time. It's a hard thing to do. And so I will continue to support this project. I urge my fellow council members to do so. And I think we have the plan. I appreciate President's Plaza for stepping up and agreeing to another addendum. And let's just move forward, and hopefully this all will get built and we can all go down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 52.
So full of myself, I forgot. Authorization for the mayor and finance officer to sign an RSVP grant application and accept the grant if awarded. All in favor? Oh, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Lewis and a second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 53. This is to acknowledge the move of the January 1, 2014 Legal and Finance Committee meeting to December 31, 2013, immediately following Public Works Committee. We have a motion by Nordstrom and a second by Roberts to move to acknowledge. Pauline, did you have anything you'd like to add? Finance officer. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now on public hearing items 54 through 63. The public hearing is now open. Do not have any speaker request forms. Have I missed anyone? Public hearing is now closed. We are in consent items 54 through 61, unless someone would like to remove any for separate consideration. If we could get a motion to approve all. Motion by Laurenti, second by Peterson to approve items 54 through 61. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 62 will go to Chad Lewis.
Item number 62, Mr. Mayor, is second reading of ordinance 5970, an ordinance amending 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, rezoning the described property as requested by Spurlick Inc. for Terry Batchelder from flood hazard district to low-density residential district. The property generally located at the intersection of Creek Drive and East St. Charles, and I move an approval in conjunction with the comprehensive plan amendments.
Motion by Lewis, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 63.
Number 63 is the KOL LLC doing business as KOL 504 Mount Rushmore Road for retail on-sale liquor license transfer from Dublin Square Inc., doing business as Dublin Square 504 Mount Rushmore Road. And I move approval.
Motion by Lewis, second by Doyle. And we'll go to our Finance Officer, Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one correction. The immediate doing business name will remain Dublin Square. I believe they will rename it later on. But the legal name is not changing, so they don't have to do anything with their application at this time.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Bill list, Pauline.
There are no changes to the bill list, so the total is that which is before you at $6,314,115.12.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Laurenti, second by Roberts. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries, and it's 7:28 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you. Merry Christmas.